Sports. I'm Clint.
I'm Phil, saving you big-time money on your health.
Manitoba apple cider vinegar with mother, $2.99. And Indian summer cherry juice, just $2.99.
Ay caramba, your health is important.
46 ounces of cherry juice or 33 ounces of apple cider vinegar, both $2.99.
Hot up prices for your health.
Service and savings. It's Woodman's.
What formerly falling receiver now might be moving back up draft boards? Which AFC North pass catcher is shaking his previous bust status with a great summer? And what players should you be targeting in the early to mid-second round in your FPC drafts? Plus, it's our annual Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship preview. 2017 KFFSC main event champion Kurt Awe drops by with the commish Farrell Elliott to tackle all of your draft questions and more. We've got a great show for you. Dave Gerzak is here. I'm Eric Balkman. Stick around. Your high-stakes fantasy football hour starts now.
Hey, bro.
Broadcast live and heard around the world, you are now listening to the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. It's the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for football analysis from the best fantasy players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak.
Thanks so much, Rob. Greetings and salutations, all of you Balkaholics and Gerzakin addicts. Welcome to the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com. I am, of course, your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman, and my co-host is the patron saint of fantasy football, the Dizzle, Dave Gerzak. Coming up on tonight's show, what does Jordy Nelson really have left in the tank? What are Royce Freeman's ascendant chances? And 2017 Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship main event winner Kurt Awe and Commissioner Farrell Elliott hang out with us tonight in our special KFFSC preview episode. We'll have Kurt coming up in just a few minutes here, and Farrell will join us at the bottom of the hour to answer some of your emails and tackle some of the news and musings around the NFL and how it pertains to your fantasy drafts. Shout out to the chat room right now. Feel free to post any questions you might have in there. If you want to connect with us on Twitter, feel free to do so. The show is at HSFF Hour. I am at Eric Balkman. Dave is at David Gerzak. Kurt is at Kurt Awe. Farrell is at KFFSC. And you can post on our Facebook page at facebook.com/HSFF Hour. If you want to chime in and give us a call, it's 347-426-3682. That's 347-GAME-OVA. HighStakesFantasyFootball@gmail.com is the inbox. That's where you send your questions to us, or you can post them in the chat room. We'll do our best to get to all of the chat room questions, all the tweets, all the emails in the fantasy feedback segment later on in the show. Of course, our producer and mutual friend Rob is behind the glass, and our audio engineer, as always, is Bryce. The next round, the final round of FFPC early main event draft spots for teams paid in full, the deadline will be August 26th. If you are paid in full, or if you want to add any teams by August 26th, that's Sunday, you'll get your early draft spot on the 28th, 2 days later. That's a Tuesday, so make sure you're taking note of that. Or, instead of writing a note for yourself, just pay your teams right now, add your teams right now, and then you don't have to worry about it. You'll just get your draft slot emailed to you. We take care of that. There's no extra work on your part. We're trying to save you time, and more importantly, save you money. Football Guys drafts filling daily. We are trying to fill some drafts right now. Dave, can you give us the update on both the midnight and the 1 a.m. drafts?
There's 4 left in the midnight block, and the 1 a.m. is completely open.
All right. Listen, I'm commissioning that draft. I got a lot of work to do tonight, people. I'm going to be up late. Make it worth my while. I would love to hang out with you and commission that 1 a.m. draft. I'll be in that midnight one as well. Room discounts at Planet Hollywood still going on at myffpc.com. I want to remind everybody, Planet Hollywood will be sold out that weekend. It is week 1 of the NFL season. It is a hot ticket, and if you want to get in on that FFPC group rate, now is the time. Contact Greg Sidoris, his contact information, myffpc.com. Check that out. It's listed right on there. Give him a call, send him an email. Make sure you are not losing out on that great deal. You're talking about, saving $100+ each night if you book through the FFPC code. So make sure you're taking advantage of that. And of course, $10 week 1 viewing at any Caesars Sportsbook, restaurant, lounge, one of them, you'll get a chance to watch all the action for week 1 just for $10. You do that through Greg as well. Best ball drafts, classic drafts, starting at $35. This is the last weekend we have for slow drafts. So make sure if you want to get in on a slow draft, you're doing it this weekend. Of course, dynasty startups are available as well. All right, we'll start the damn show. I want to bring in our first guest tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I can't make it shorter.
Make it shorter.
Dude, it is August 17th. I'm sorry. I apologize. The FFPC has a lot of stuff going on.
I'll tell us to make it shorter.
Well, then I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what I'm going to do.
Talk to us to make it shorter.
Talk to the prognosticator. Say,
all right, bring Kurt on.
Start taking away some of these leagues that we have. We just can't mention them all.
Oh, the promotion. It's annoying.
Let's bring in tonight's guest. Not only is he a 3-time FFPC main event league champ, he was also 1/3 of the 2008 NFFC Primetime $100,000 championship squad, and last year became the 2017 Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship main event winner. Please welcome back onto these airwaves our good buddy, Kurt Awe. Kurt, thanks for doing the show this week, man.
Hey, what's up? Hey, how you doing?
It's good to have you, and it's funny because people are like, hey, I don't remember hearing Kurt on the show before. Kurt was on Dave, you remember this. He was on the failed Live on I-65 show where we tried to do a podcast on the way down to Kentucky, and it didn't work out well, but I'm glad to have you back on.
That was a little bit of a disaster.
It was a little bit of a disaster. It was fun for us. We had a blast doing it.
Is it archived anywhere?
Yes, you could probably still listen to it on the Blog Talk Radio archive. It's I wouldn't recommend it, but it's out there.
Yeah, right on.
Kurt, we'll get into the fantasy portion of the show shortly. Before we do that, tell the listeners what you are doing for a living when you are not crushing the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship.
I actually work at Monash Corporation running a printing press, having lots of fun working 12-hour shifts.
Now, listen, the 12-hour shifts.
Don't sound so excited.
Well, listen, the 12-hour shifts allow you to have a lot of extra free time to do your fantasy research, which obviously you did last year in crushing KFFSC. We're all excited for your Farrell Elliott coronation when we get down to Louisville next weekend.
Yeah, Farrell, that'll be interesting to hear him. He always likes to hype it up to begin with, so I can imagine what this will be like.
By the way, Leroy, in the chat room, the real Leroy saying he was driving too fast for Wi-Fi, which is why the show
might have been true.
Faster than the speed of Wi-Fi. That's how we get from Wisconsin to Kentucky in 40 minutes every year.
For some reason, I can't put anything on this chat, so I don't know what I did wrong, but I can see it, but I can't chat on it, so I'm going to get murdered by Two-Packer and Leroy, I'm sure now. So.
That's okay. If the Blog Talk chat doesn't work, it's pretty much that's the way it's like.
I was going to say that's sort of status quo.
Right, absolutely.
Oh, you had more than 6 people in the chat? Yeah, not everybody's going to be able to chat. We're sorry. We're living it out on the characters.
So this is great having you on because you're part of our crew. We all drive down together. Balky, myself, Leroy, Meyer, and you. Meyer being Two-Packer, Leroy being the real Leroy.
The real Leroy.
Yeah. Leroy always drives.
Yep.
And so let's just talk a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about your banner year last year in Kentucky. Which, by the way, we've been talking about this all off season. How I've been saying all of our teams suck.
Right.
Balky keeps trying to peeps in there a little bit, saying how one of his teams was good.
One of my main event teams was good.
It was like
it was good.
Like average.
It was not average. It was nowhere near Kurt's teams, and we'll leave it at that.
All right. So you get the big payback championship, the auction title, and the main event overall championship with your team named Pigpen, which we've enjoyed.
Right.
So were you heavily invested in a lot of the same players, or did you just happen to hit on a lot of different guys?
I think the only one that was on all of them, I think, was Gurley, except for probably with Balky because he was too cheap to buy him, I would believe. But otherwise, I just got pretty lucky to hit on some different. got other different guys to hit. Honestly,
I remember. Did you have Kareem Hunt on a lot of your Kentucky rosters last year, Kurt?
No, well, on the one that won, I did too. That's where I got because he fell to the 4th round in that one, and I got him with Gurley on that same team after I had Brown also, so that always helped that team.
Well, that's right. Because you had, in that team, you had Antonio Brown, which was, he was awesome on your team all year long. But Brown, I don't know, wait, is there a Brown question?
No, we don't have a Brown question.
So Brown ended up going out, but you were astutely picked up Juju Smith-Schuster, who was just, he was doing all right.
Yeah.
But then Brown went out.
Yeah.
And, Juju actually crushed it in Week 16, where you had that late, kind of third quarter touchdown. Is that right?
Sounds right, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was because that was really bad. When then, of course, Antonio went down at the worst time ever, and right towards the end of the season.
Well, I want to talk about because one of the things we always talk about after the season's over, we invite all these FFPC champs to come on, and we talk about what Week 16 was like for them with so much cash on the line, and it was a really weird final game in Week 16 between the Eagles and Raiders with the Kentucky title on the line, and I remember. We were all kind of, we had our Kentucky group chat, firing on all, at 100% capacity that night because we knew it was at stake. And I remember sort of like the overall mood, and Kurt, you can correct me if I'm wrong or tell us what you were thinking. The overall mood was kind of like, okay, well, Kurt's winning right now, but going into this final game, he's got 2 or 3 guys behind him. This guy's got Crabtree. This guy's got Jeffrey. This guy has Ertz. There's
Aguilar. There's
an Nelson Aguilar team. It just seemed like there was so many ways for you to not win it. We were just kind of all, at least I was tempering my expectations and my enthusiasm for it. And then as the game kind of went on, it was like, holy cow, Kurt could actually pull this off. What were you thinking? What were you doing that night for that game?
Well, I don't know if it's fortunately or unfortunately, but I was working that night from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. So I was checking the chats and the scores and everything. And obviously, I was like, well, I should at least finish in the top 5 possibly, and that'll be fine, whatever. And then all of a sudden it got later in the game, and I'm looking, I'm like, holy shit, is this really going to happen? It kept just getting closer and closer to the end, and it's like, oh my God, it's actually over. I can't believe I actually pulled it out and won. Just shows that sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, I guess.
Yeah, we talked about there was some heavy talent up, behind you, equally or more accomplished players, Chad Schroeder being one of them.
I think we can say that, no offense, Kurt, Chad is a little more accomplished.
Yeah.
All right.
That's why I just got him on a luck shot.
Someone comparable to you, Chad Schroeder.
Yeah, right.
Chad Schroeder, it's all right.
How many main event overall titles does Chad Schroeder have? We won't bring that up, but Chad. I think did Chad end up taking 3rd? I think he was 3rd overall last year, and the guy who took 2nd escapes me right now. I can't.
You know what? That's because no one second place. No one.
Yeah, no one remembers. Well, we remember 3rd winning it. For sure, that was a lot of fun. I remember Jen, my wife, was asleep, and I remember walking into her room, and I woke her up and like, Kurt just won Kentucky. Kurt just won Kentucky. And she's like, I don't even know what that means.
She's like, what is this, Civil War? Civil War reenactment, or what's going on?
I was like, I got to do something. I got to tell, everybody I know who would care already knows.
Yeah, right.
But I think there's nothing I can do about it.
Dad, hey Dad, are you awake?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I should have done.
So Kurt, the way that the structure of Kentucky is, you have to start 2 running backs, 3 receivers, 1 flex, quarterback, kicker, defense, and so on. A lot of times it is like an arms race for wide receivers, given that you have to start those 3. Do you generally load up on receivers early on, or do you just try to still draft a more balanced roster with some running backs mixed in there?
What's funny is, like, in the last couple of years, I used to always try to load up on receivers. And last year, on that team at least, I tried to keep it balanced, and it actually ended up working out, because then I wasn't sitting there looking for a 3rd running back like I usually am, because I fall for the Meyer trap of not drafting any running backs, and I have all these receivers on my team. And then I talk about how good my receivers are and how I have 1 running back, and it's like, okay, I'm going to try to keep it balanced this year. It actually worked out for once.
How about that for a Kentucky team name this year, Dave? The Meyer Trap.
Yeah, well.
That's got to be a candidate.
All right, I'll put that on the list.
Yeah, put it on the list.
There's a lot of things on the list.
Yeah, well, I'm sure there is. I'd rather eliminate stuff than have to come up with stuff. We're talking about 2017 Kentucky Fantasy Football State Champion. Kurt Awe, of course, a multi-main event league winner as well in the FFPC. And now, Kurt, I'll bring this up. You and I partner for the auction in Kentucky every year. We have now won the auction twice with the defending champs coming into the 2018 season. I believe we won it twice in the last 6 years. And I still don't, I'll be the first to admit, I don't know the method to your madness on when you have these random bids that jump the price on some of these players. However, I will say...
Explain it a little bit.
So I'll give you an example. Perfect example. A few years back, Kurt and I were, we needed, there was a lot of receivers flying off the board. I would say of the top 12, there was probably only 3 top 12 receivers left.
Sure.
One of them was Calvin Johnson, who was maybe the best, or top 2 or 3. So he was clearly
like the premium guy, right?
and we needed one. I mean, we needed a receiver. So I said to Kurt, and I pointed to a number. We had like 50 or something written down for him. I said, okay, this is as high as I was going to go on him, but we sort of need one, so I go a couple of more dollars on it. So it's maybe like 52, 53 or whatever. So the bidding is getting up there, and it's like 49, 50, 51. I'm like, I kind of look at Kurt, and then he's just like, 60. and I was like, what are you doing? And we won it for. I mean, that just shut everybody up at the table.
Everybody else was
but I mean, that was the year that Calvin had like 1,600 yards and like 13 or 14 times. I mean, so it worked out. That's one example. David Johnson worked out for us as well a couple years ago. And Larry Fitzgerald was one that we did last year where it was like 9, 10, and then Kurt's like 16, and we got him.
For 16?
I don't remember what it was. It was something
like, was in that neighborhood, though.
It probably was. And so then we end up getting, so it works out. I don't get it, but you seem to have this innate ability to know when to jump the bid and on which guys to do it. Is there any science behind that, or is that purely a gut feel at the table?
I usually just ask you what we should spend, and then when you say that's it, then I usually just jump it up a couple bucks and bid on it right away.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, it's worked out. And I haven't seen, you and I have been auction partners in that league for years now, and I still haven't picked up on that. If I was smart, I'd be like, okay, I want to go to 40 on this guy. I'll just say, like, yeah, Kurt, we can't go any higher than 36 here. And then we'll end up moving out. But you know what? But here's the thing. I can't do that now because our current method has worked out too well. Like, I have to stick with the plan on that one. So I guess, for what it's worth, even though I know now, I still will keep it. I'll keep it 100, and we'll just keep it the way that we've been doing, and just hopefully bring home another title this year.
All right, Kurt,
oh yeah, we got that locked up. I'm writing it down as a win already, box for that.
All right, perfect.
Leroy and I don't think we're in the same league this year. We got two.
Well,
usually when Leroy and I partner up, and then I have a few too many drinks sometimes, and then I overbid on 2 quarterbacks. So I'll bid on.
Sometimes,
yeah. Yeah, so like 3 years in a row or whatever it's been.
That has been your MO. However, you have never been the drunkest person at that auction.
Well, thank God.
That is a title that two-factor holds high, and that was he fell into the Meyer trap of drafting too many receivers in the auction last year. So that was it'll be interesting. I think you're right. I don't think there's 2 auctions this year. I think we're in one and you guys are in the other. So we'll see what happens. All
right. So in the entire Kentucky trip, Curtis, from the time we leave until the time we get back, what is your favorite part?
Well, one of them is listening to Meyer talk for 9 hours about all the guys he likes, so I can cross all those guys off my list automatically. He helps weed out my players pretty easily. And then, of course, the best part is stopping at Chick-fil-A and watching Leroy spill his soda all over the place. I usually like that.
Leroy has spilled his soda multiple times.
I'm just kidding. I don't want to rip on my buddy Leroy. He only did it once.
Well, I will say that
I think we actually spilled it on him the second.
No. Here's what happened. The first time, it wasn't like a full-on spill. The first time when it happened, it was like the whole. First of all, that Chick-fil-A, I believe it's in Lafayette, Indiana. They keep that place like spotless. I don't know why they have plates and trays there, because you could literally just eat right off the floor.
It's like kind of like a church. I think they have hymnals in there.
I haven't seen hymnals, but they have mouthwash in the bathroom. It's fantastic. So it's spotless. And then Leroy went up to Dave and he was telling him something, and then some of his soda just dribbled off the top, like when you fill up your soda, like on the rim of it, it just dribbled onto the floor. And I remember looking at Dave, and Dave looked at Leroy. He looked at the floor. He looked back up at Leroy, looked at the floor, like judging him, and Leroy was totally ignoring him. So that turned into something. And then the second,
it was a beautiful restaurant.
Right. It was spotless. But then the year after that, we came down, and I was one of the last people to order, and I come to the table to sit down and eat, and there's a big Diet Coke puddle on the table again, right in front of Leroy. And I'm like, are you kidding me? You did it. And he's like, no. And I get the server, because the server comes out and refills your drink.
Listen to what he just said. The server. This is like a fast food restaurant.
I know. Yeah. If somebody come up and refill your soda, and she accidentally knocked it over. So technically, Leroy didn't do it, but it was still like, I mean, as far as I knew, he did it. When I thought he did it on purpose. Like, why would there be a Diet Coke bottle? It was crazy. We're talking about.
It's also nice too, because.
Go ahead.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's also nice because then when we go to draft, I don't really worry about much after having Leroy driving us all the way down there at 95 miles per hour. I can usually relax and just draft. That's why we do so well in the auction league, I think. It's nice and relaxed.
Yeah, like we survived. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Nothing can go wrong now. Leroy, he gets us there in one piece every year very fast, which I appreciate because I always have to set up for a live show, and I'm always nervous that I'm not going to make it one of these years. Maybe it'll be this year, I don't know. 2017 Kentucky main event champion Kurt Awe joining us on the show tonight. And Dave brought this up before the show. We should let everybody know that not only are you buddies, but you and Dave were high school football teammates playing on the same offensive line, Kurt. Oh, yes. He was on the great left side of the line, though, and I was on the right side of the line. So, it wasn't exactly the same line. It was kind of the same line.
Yeah, there's very few offensive lines have clicks within the starting five.
Yes, exactly. Yes, exactly.
Like red versus blue, Republican versus Democrat. Yeah. It was this whole big war.
Yep.
Yeah, and we've always tried to recruit Alex Brinkman, who was the center.
Yeah, and it cost us a state championship, too, because we couldn't get along, so that's why we lost our state championship.
It might have been the coaching.
Or anyway, Fuller. I blame Fuller.
Fuller, you're right, tackle.
Kurt, you've had a lot of success, obviously, as we mentioned in the FFPC. Now, I mean, you had big payback champion last year, auction champion last year, main event champion last year in Kentucky. I'm just curious, with the success you've had at both of them, how does the competition for anybody who's drafted maybe at the FFPC but not in Kentucky, or people who drafted in Kentucky but not out in Vegas, how does the competition compare between the two events?
I don't know. Years ago, I thought Kentucky used to be a little bit weaker, but now that Farrell's promoting it and getting so many more people coming out, it's like a mini Vegas. It's just, everybody, you don't get guys bringing magazines to the draft or anything anymore. They actually know what they're doing, and they're actually good players. They got, they know what they're doing instead of just coming up there with a magazine and pulling out guys that are IR'd in the beginning of the year already and stuff like that.
I always remember
it's been a lot of difference.
The old adage for me, for people who had never drafted in Kentucky before, I always said, the competition's really tough on Friday with the auction. Saturday morning, it's super tough too, because you're having people who are drafting on Saturday morning typically are drafting all weekend. And
that is the toughest one.
Saturday morning is always really tough. Then Saturday night is the Saturday night main event. That gets a little bit easier. But then the biggest one, historically, I think the biggest one has always been the Sunday morning main event, or Sunday afternoon. It starts at 1. That always
sucks. That's so great. By the way, that is so great. It starts at 1 o'clock.
Right. Yeah.
You go out Saturday morning, so God knows when.
Right.
Your draft doesn't start till 1 o'clock, man.
Yep. Exactly.
Well, allegedly at 1 o'clock. It's still on Farrell, Kentucky time, so it's usually around 1:30, maybe.
1:30. Yeah. Right.
And I always said, it's great because you can prep, with those tougher drafts on Saturday, and then the value always falls to you on Sunday. I would say over the last two years for sure, maybe 3 years, that hasn't been the case. It's still Saturday morning is pretty tough, but Saturday night and Sunday, everybody knows what they're doing down there, which I actually appreciate. because it really preps you for not me and Dave because we're busy working out in Vegas, but a lot of people will like the preparation of Kentucky for Vegas, and it gives them maybe a leg up on their competition for people drafting live. But I don't think there's a huge difference, in my opinion. I don't think there's a huge difference between the three events anymore. Dave, you have a question about? Let's bring up the big payback in the auction again.
Yeah, so anyway, Kurt, you won the auction title with Balky. That's how we traditionally do it. And you and I partnered with the Big Payback, and we won that title together. So who was the more annoying person to have to deal with at the table next to you?
Yeah,
who's the one that's really
Is it Dave or is it me?
Oh, I was going to say Ron Meyer. I think he's in both those, but I guess it would have to be It would have to be Balky, of course, because like when Dave and I are partnered up, it's just like yin and yang. We know what we're each other's thinking, and we're just out there killing it. And Balky, I have to pry his wallet out of his hand and try to get him to spend. I feel sorry for Jen, because I can imagine Jen trying to go shopping with it. Like, no, it's too much. It's like, come on, Balky.
Yeah, I am infamous for being a penny pincher in the auction. Honestly, here's what happened. So, producer mutual friend Rob, we used to always be in this auction league together. Dave, Kurt, myself, Rob, a bunch of other people. I can't remember offhand, but all of us were in it. And Rob was always famous for holding on to his money way too long. They always say like, with half the auction left or 2/3 of the auction left, you want to have the most money or whatever. Well, Rob would always have the most money, but it'd be like 90% of his budget. And, and he would end up getting all these. He'd get like maybe one stud, and then like all mediocre guys. Like there wouldn't be any like good or great players on his team or whatever. And you can't take that. Oh no, with the rules we had, you could take it to free agency blind bidding.
Do you remember the year when he had the most money he ever took with him? Do you remember how much?
No, I don't know offhand. This is about a $200 cap.
$200 budget. He had like $69. Oh
my gosh.
And everybody else was like $1 player. And he's like, well, I got all this blind bidding money. I'm like, dude, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
It was great.
So basically,
he didn't win.
So I am always like, let's sit back, let's lay in the weeds, let's sit back, let's lay in the weeds, and then all these guys go off the board. And usually, the first time Kurt says, listen, Robbie, we got to get some players on our team, and then I'm like, okay, I need to switch it on now. Now we need to go buy. Like the first one Rob insult comes at me, then I'm all about it. Kurt, we got a couple of emails for you this week. First one is from Tom in Las Vegas, Nevada. He writes, "What's up, Kurt? What's the best piece of best ball advice that you can give someone who is playing it for the first time?" Thank you for the email, Tom. Tom in Las Vegas. Kurt, you and the Real Leroy, you guys have partnered on a lot of live best balls out at the FFPC in Vegas over the years. You and Dave do the best ball at Kentucky every year. For somebody who's never done like a 28-round best ball draft before, what's something that they really need to know before they get to the draft table?
It's probably the old basic thing of getting like 3 quarterbacks, 3 running backs, 3 receivers, 3 tight ends. You want 3 of each, at least, so that you're not stuck at short even on like kickers or defenses and stuff like that. You don't want to be sitting there with 2 quarterbacks, one gets hurt and the other one's out or something, and it's like, oh man, we don't have 3. You got to have at least 3 of each one.
And with running backs and receivers, you want more, obviously.
Oh yeah. I'm just saying the minimum of 3 on the other ones. Obviously, running backs and receivers are going to pound them up more, but you don't just want to. They start pounding all these receivers. So, oh, look at all the receivers they got, and then they have like 2 quarterbacks and like 1 kicker. It's like I've seen guys have like 1 kicker on their team before, even out in Vegas when they're spending like $750 or $1,250. I'm like, holy shit, this guy's got 1 kicker on his team. And you just like spend $1,250. I'm like, what the hell is he doing? Oh, he's got tons of receivers. Oh, good job. Yeah, I'm like, holy man.
Yeah, I one of the things I always think is difficult, especially like when you're drafting one of those 750 best ball leagues or 1250, is like if you have like an 11 pick or a 12 pick or even like the 1 or the 2, those kicker runs and those defense runs, man, if there's one about to pop and you skip the position, I am sweating bullets for it until it gets back to me, because I know that I could get skunked at that position if I'm just going to ignore it.
Oh yeah, and people obviously see that and they start pounding them all in a row on you every time. It's like, oh, here we go. especially if we try to screw around too long. And even like in those, you can't. I don't know. I like to wait on quarterbacks, but you don't want to wait too long in those because once people notice it, then if you're on the wrong side, you're going to end up with maybe 2 starters if you're lucky, and then a backup in the end. It's like you can't wait too long on quarterbacks either.
It's like that movie in Inception where, like, they're in people's dreams, and then the other people in the dream are like the person's security, and they can kind of sense, like, wait a minute, that person's not supposed to be here. And then they start, like, ganging up. And it's like once they gang up and they realize, hey, we can take out 1/12 of the field right here if we all, start grabbing quarterbacks or kickers or defenses, boom, then all of a sudden it's that much easier to cash. So you make a good point there for sure. Let's go to Mike in Williamston, North Carolina. He writes, does Jordy Nelson have anything left in the tank for the Raiders this season, or am I better off finding a younger receiver option instead of him? Thank you. That is Mike in Williamston, North Carolina. And for reference, I'm just looking at where Jordy Nelson is actually going in FFPC drafts right now. He's going basically at that 9-10 turn, and you talk about other younger receivers going around him. Instead of Jordy Nelson, you could be drafting guys like Nelson Aguilar, Kelvin Benjamin, Sterling Shepard, Kenny Stills. All those guys are going roughly in that same area. What are your thoughts on Jordy Nelson, Kurt, now in a Raiders uniform, and whether you'd be paying that 9-10 turn price to get him this year?
I personally like Jordy Nelson just because he's going to be like a number 2 for the first time in his career probably, so he should do all right. I mean, some of those other guys aren't bad, but they're not quite as proven as him either. So I wouldn't mind taking him in that spot if I have room for him. Without,
originally I was totally off Jordy Nelson. I would say within the last 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, and again, some of this is like Derek Carr and John Gruden falling all over themselves saying how great he is, and I tend to try to weed that out, but it's in my mind, and his ADP. After those announcements, it really hasn't risen. I mean, you're not paying a higher price for him now based on that. So there is something to be said. And honestly, if you don't like Amari Cooper, which there's plenty of people out there that are avoiding him this year and will not be taking him in the 3rd or 4th round, well then shouldn't you like Jordy Nelson? I mean, you got to like somebody on that Raiders offense, especially if they don't have Khalil Mack this season and they end up trading him or he holds out or what have you. They could be in a lot of shootouts, and that means good news for Derek Carr and Jordy Nelson. So I can definitely get on board at that price. Dave, you have our famous final question, the one where we're really going to try to squeeze Kurt for as much info as we can.
I mean, I could ask you this question during the 8-hour drive to Kentucky, but I guess we'll ask it.
Well, you can ask it again. Things will change in a week.
Kurt, we're looking at sleepers and busts here. What player will you be staying away from in the first couple of rounds this year? And what player do you think you'll be targeting in the mid to late rounds this season, and Jordy is not an option?
Yes. Yes, I'd probably, as far as like the early guys, I'm just off Odell Beckham totally myself. I don't care if it's right in the spot or not. I just don't like him, and I think another thing is I can probably cross off the whole Dolphin squad too. I hope that Fins isn't out there listening right now, but I'll just probably mark every Dolphin off my list, including Stills, all of them. All of them could just be scratched off my list, so that should save me a couple picks. All Dolphins are gone.
All Dolphins.
Yeah, we said that.
And I'm hoping that I can.
A few weeks ago.
A surprising pick for me. I'm going to try to see if maybe I can get Sammy Watkins on a couple of teams this year, since I usually can't grab him in very many teams.
Yeah, no kidding. I'll tell you this. I believe the last time we won. No, not the last time we won auction. I think the year before last year we took like 3rd overall, and we honestly, 2 of the big reasons why we did so good was Tyrell Williams and Sammy Watkins. Sammy Watkins against me, that was a total Kurt pick, and it ended up working out for us for a good portion of the season. It really worked out. So yeah, target Sammy Watkins, something I would never do. Kurt has done it to critical acclaim, so I will never rip on that when it comes to Kurt and Sammy Watkins. Kurt, listen, man, I really appreciate you coming on. This was a lot of fun chatting fantasy with you. We'll only have, again, like another 8 hours come a week from now on the way down to Louisville talking fantasy some more. But this is a real pleasure. Congrats on the Kentucky win. We're all excited to celebrate with you in Louisville with the big presentation that Farrell has for all the league winners and the main event winner. that'll be a lot of fun. And we will see you bright and early Friday morning.
All right, sounds good, guys. Thanks a lot.
Kurt All, ladies and gentlemen, the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Champion from 2017, joining us on the show tonight. That was a lot of fun. Let's keep the fun rolling with our next guest, ladies and gentlemen.
What, Farrell?
He is a talent agent to the stars, NFL agent. Listen, if you're in entertainment, you're any kind of anybody
Did we just do this intro a week ago?
in pop culture, this is the man you need to talk to for sure. He is the commissioner of the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship, the host of the official Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship podcast. Follow him on Twitter at KFFSC. Once again, one of our favorite guests on the show. Glad to have you on, Farrell. Welcome, Farrell Elliott, back on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour.
Oh, the words of wisdom from our reigning champion. How fabulous it was to hear from Kurt All.
We'll be hearing from him again more on the way down from Louisville. We got to pick his brain more. Clearly, this was an underutilized resource last year since he was the only one of the Wisconsin contingent that had any teams worth their salt in Kentucky. So
yeah, he was involved with, like, he had his tentacles on every one that won.
Yeah, I mean, any success that anybody...
He should have a podcast. What the hell are we doing?
I've been saying for years, Kurt, Leroy, and Meyer need a podcast. Clearly. I think
about three of them.
Oh, that dynamic would be great. Once in a while, they might even touch on fantasy football.
It would be something.
It would be awesome. Farrell, you have a big weekend ahead of you, kicking off bright and early in Cincinnati tomorrow. I do believe Cincinnati, it's been sold out for like a week, maybe 2 weeks now. Yeah, I mean that went fast this year.
Cincinnati, 72 teams on Sunday. It's going to be a lot of fun, guys. And yeah, we capped it at 72 teams. It sold out pretty early, and I'm glad to just have everyone in the room. It's a different feel in Cincinnati. It's a smaller event, but we have a lot of fun up there, and it gets guys ready for the next weekend.
Yeah, for sure. And people are. Is that so? That's not on Saturday. That's just Sunday, and it's basically from dawn till dusk. You can draft in Cincinnati if you get in early enough.
Guys start showing up at 10 a.m. Our draft's at 11, and we go until about 9 that evening. And there's some diehards that play 4 that will draft 4 back to back. There's some that'll draft 3. Most everybody there, I think we're 55 different owners will come in and draft 72 teams. So it's small, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it's good. It's a good precursor to the big event in Louisville the following weekend. I know there's still spots open in the main event. There may be some ancillary leagues too. That if you don't want to be what's it always called? I wish I had. The phrase that you always use.
You don't want to be a wish I had.
Yeah, you don't want to be a wish I had, and the way that you don't, the way you avoid being a wish I had is to get in right now in Kentucky. What's still open for the live events in Louisville?
Very little, guys, but there's 1 or 2 spots open in just about everything, and I want to make sure that I didn't miss anyone. So sometimes I have to comb over that and make sure that I have registered everyone properly before those last spots go. But we're going to have a little bigger event than we had last year, probably by about 24 or 36 teams. So it's going to be a little more lively in the room. And I think, guys have expanded their territory. They've seen the success of the Wisconsin bunch, and they said, I want to draft all weekend just like those guys too. So it makes it It makes it a good time when people get there on Friday and stay with us for a long time and a good time. But a lot of our success we owe to the support that you guys have provided us. There's national players coming in that want to, they want to spend time with you guys, play against you guys, and I appreciate everything you've done for the league. And it makes it very much interesting for our local players to enjoy the competition with those guys too. So yeah, we're looking forward to it. There's some room on Sunday. There's a little room on Saturday night. The I Want Vegas, which is probably the best prize because you get that ticket to the FFPC. We've got a couple spots in each day of that. And when guys come in to play there, they'll have the opportunity to sit down and draft against you two, which is always a thrill.
Yeah, it was easy money last year.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of requests from what I've told. Like, I want to draft against all those dolts from Wisconsin, except for Kurt Awe. Don't put me in Kurt Awe's division, but anybody else, I'm game for it. Farrell, we're going to talk more about Kentucky. I want to get your thoughts on some of the stuff that's going around the NFL within the last 48 hours or so. Thanks to Draft Sharks, Football Guys, Roto World, Roto Pass, and of course Rob for tonight's rundown. According to Chris Thomason from the St. Paul Pioneer Press, Dalvin Cook and Latavius Murray actually could be splitting the rushing load this season. Coach Mike Zimmer, said that it's actually too early to think about how those will be distributed, though he said both Cook and Murray will be factors in the run game. Murray actually played pretty well in the absence of Dalvin Cook last year, and maybe will be a bigger factor than people aren't realizing. Cook is coming off that torn ACL. He's going way early in drafts, obviously. You look at where he's going in FFPC best ball leagues right now. Dalvin Cook is the 202, and sometimes he goes in the first round. And Latavius Murray does not cost you much at all going in the 14th round. So, Farrell, I'm looking at this. Are you buying this, that this could be more of like, maybe not a 50-50 split, but maybe like a 75-25, a 70-30 split between Cook and Murray?
I got the feeling that Cook, when he played last year, I think, what was it, 70-something carries, 350 yards. I really have the feeling that this was a player that could lead the league in rushing. I would think if he gets into that type of productivity, that's going to be hard not to give him the ball. That being said, Murray flashed some skills, and I've always been a big Murray fan. So there's going to be, with the success of that team, there should be enough to go around for both players, but you'd be smart to get them both. A lot of guys don't like to handcuff, but I don't know if this is a true handcuff. Both these guys can contribute. Perhaps not like the duo at New Orleans, but both of them can contribute. And I would spend a 14th, 13th, 12th round pick on Murray easy.
Bob Condata on Twitter actually said today, Seahawks coach Pete Carroll said that Doug Baldwin has ramped up his conditioning. We heard the reports that Doug Baldwin's actually been sprinting, Dave. It sounds like Baldwin's going to be ready for week 1. Your thoughts on Doug Baldwin? I've seen him slip to like the late 4th lately, and to me that's a good buy right now. Seems like he's trending in the right direction for FFPC drafts and Kentucky drafts for that matter.
Yeah, I would like to take Baldwin in spots like that. I didn't like him in that early 3rd round where he was going before. I preferred a guy like Larry Fitzgerald. I just like him better. But in the 4th, yeah, why not? Absolutely.
Yeah, now he's going to do. Is he in the? Can we throw him in the ascendant conversation? I feel like that's a little cheating. Okay, we won't throw him. No, that's fine. We don't have to.
He's a consummate professional, and that's when you get guys like that are a good deal. Why not?
You need the unknown for the ascendant. You need that mystery guy.
Yeah.
Well, we got another candidate coming up. Not right now, but we'll get to him later. Farrell, Chris Carson, according to Ian Rappaport from the NFL Network, is the team's bell cow at running back. Rashad Penny hurt. He returned to practice today, but he did just have surgery on that broken finger in Philadelphia, of all places. His pass pro still not all the way there. Chris Carson looked awesome last year, and he's certainly continued that this year. Right now in drafts, the ADP really hasn't matched up with what we're seeing. Rashad Penny, as I screw this up, has only fallen to the mid-6th round. He's going at the 604 right now. And then Chris Carson, you would think he'd be ascending way up, and he's moved up a little bit, but he's still a 9th-round pick for a guy that should be getting the lion's share of touches in Seattle. Your thoughts on both Penny and Carson here?
My thoughts on those two guys, fellas, are absolutely worthless. I can't figure out what is ever going on in the Seattle backfield. And, last year they released Alex Collins, who I really liked as a player over at Baltimore, who's now going in the 4th round of all these drafts, which proves to me that they don't know anything about what they're doing in their backfield either. So I just really stay away with this. And you're going to have to, our good friend Brandon Hakey, there's one of the guys that will draft at the FFPC from his days, says dawn to dark, and will draft in Cincinnati 4 straight drafts. And he's a wonderful Seahawks fan, travels to games throughout the year. We got to give that question to Brandon because really I can't answer it and I stay away from it.
And Hakey's a notorious draft reacher. So Hakey's the type of guy.
He gets his guys.
Yeah. So I'm telling you, Hakey and the big payback. So the number 1 pick, 501, Chris Carson. I'm not, or even or even if it's like the other side of it, the 401. I'll take Chris Carson. I'm telling you, he's going to reach for him.
Well, and I remember.
Maybe it's not a reach. He's going to take him much earlier than his ADP.
I'll tell you this: who was he reaching for last year in a lot of drafts? Kareem Hunt.
He was,
and that deal paid off. And I feel like the year before. Now I could be making this up, but I feel like the year before that was the whole Brady suspension thing, and Brady was falling in drafts, and I felt like he was grabbing Brady in a lot of places, and then he obviously won the.
Yeah, a lot of his reach checks have worked out.
They usually do. So that's the guy to pay attention to. On the Saturday morning draft to see what he's doing, because he clearly has had a lot of success with that. Dave, NFL.com's Kevin Petra said that John Brown has been a complete receiver for us. This is a quote from John Harbaugh that he put out in an article. He is going to be the opposite receiver, Michael Crabtree, in Baltimore. You look at what John Brown's been able to do. I mean, the glowing reports from multiple beat writers about how successful he's been in camp. He's
messing up my dynasty team. He's like the last guy on my roster. I'm like, well, I'll just cut that shitty John Brown.
Right, now you can't.
And now I got to keep him.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the worst.
I was super excited. I thought Michael Crabtree was going to be a target hog in Baltimore, and now I'm not so sure with how John Brown has been playing so far.
Yeah, maybe it is Brown. I know, Flacco loves throwing the deep ball. So if Brown can actually make catches over the middle, like you always hope those speedsters can do, look out. He could have actually a really decent season.
He definitely could. Farrell, I know you don't want to talk about the Seattle running game, but let's talk about the Indianapolis one, because Kevin Bowen from 1070 The Fan said that Jordan Wilkins has emerged as a potential backup, taking advantage of the fact that Marlon Mack has been out and he's getting a lot of reps with the first team in Indianapolis. He obviously has a good skill set, good size speed combo, and really good footwork. He knows how to defend, to make defenders miss right at the line of scrimmage. Again, he's a rookie, so his pass pro isn't great or fantastic. But you look at what he represents now in that Indy backfield. We don't know exactly when Marlon Mack's going to be back. It doesn't sound like it's going to be an injury that's going to keep him out deep into the regular season. In fact, he might even be the starting running back week 1. But when you're only paying a 14th round pick for Jordan Wilkins right now, who could be the starter for Indianapolis week 1, that seems like something, as you would say, something you want to get in business with. What's your position on Jordan Wilkins in drafts right now?
In the words of the great Drew Baselli, why not? So yeah, why not? It's a player that has flashed a little early, and in Indianapolis, guys, they got to write about something besides Luck's shoulder and Luck's arm and Luck's Nerf football throwing. So I think that player is, especially right now, is as good a pick as anyone in those rounds. You're reaching a little bit because you're mentioning him in the same territory with the Latavius Murray. So we go back to Minnesota. I would rather have Murray. Now you guys were talking about Brown, and I got to jump in there. I was in Baltimore visiting one of my clients before in their stupidity they released him, who's now with the New Orleans Saints. So I'm looking forward to watching on NFL Network tonight on the replay. But I digress. I ran into Brown, and he told me that this was just like a new start for him. It was the best thing ever for him, and he feels loved, and he feels appreciated, and the receiver room is great, and people are listening to him for the first time, and that's a product of the fact that he was he was a rookie player in Arizona. Here in Baltimore, they're listening a little. Everybody's new, so everybody's kind of got a fresh start at it. He and Snead hanging out a lot together. When a player feels comfortable, feels wanted, and finally feels at home, great things can happen for him.
Definitely, and then that seems to be the way that things are going for John Brown right now. We have time for a few emails here. Farrell, I want to pitch this first one to you since it involves one of your favorite players. Derek in Newark, New Jersey. Who's a better 6th-round running back right now? Super young Kerryon Johnson or super old Marshawn Lynch?
The super old Marshawn Lynch. Have you guys noticed how difficult Detroit is having with getting started with the offense in these 2 exhibition games? Now, Johnson flashes, and he looks really, really great. But right now, there's not a lot of things working in Detroit. Lynch looks like the player from 3 or 4 years ago to me, and he's got the right coaching staff to keep him in check. We said a lot of those things last year but it was just more hopefulness. This year, I think it's something you can take to the bank, and I'm hoping that I could get a late round Marshawn Lynch, but by the time I get to Las Vegas to draft in my beloved FFPC, I think the secret will be out and the value will be gone. So yes, I would draft him in Kentucky. Although Johnson does look flashes great.
They're both. I mean, Johnson has an ADP of 609, Lynch going at the 610. So basically the same spot in FFPC best ball drafts right now. Lynch had that real nice run in preseason week 1 that actually got called back because of a questionable holding penalty on Colton Miller. So, and I think we were doing the show when that happened. Were we doing the show when Lynch had that busted that long run?
Yeah, that was a highlight.
I mean, we like saw it and I was like, man, he looks super young and fast there. Like I know it was on the show. Because I do remember talking about it. But, he looks really good, and you get him in the late 6th round, it makes a lot of sense. Dave, I'm going to pitch this next email here to you. It's from Marty in Cleveland, Ohio. Hi, guys. Do you have any insight on what's going on with Rashard Matthews? And Balky, are you bumping up Corey Davis on your rankings while Dizzle moves him down further? Winky face. Your show is my fave podcast. Listen every week. That's Marty in Cleveland, Ohio. Dave, we know you're not bumping up Corey Davis. Rashard Matthews has had this mysterious injury. He hasn't been practicing yet, and it's created a lot of opportunities, not just for Corey Davis, who I think they were counting on anyway, but Taywan Taylor is going super late in draft. He is a very interesting player that I will be selecting in Kentucky in a lot of spots if he falls to me, because I really can't count on Rashard Matthews or trust him at all right now. Your thoughts on Matthews?
Yeah, I'm really not interested in Matthews. Taywan Taylor, we've talked about him a little bit before. I think he actually there's a chance he retains that job. He is a second-year player. Had an okay rookie season, but didn't get a lot of playing time. Has a nice high phenom score, like a 1.8 if I remember correctly. He's a talented player, and is he from Kentucky? Wasn't he a guy you should have signed, right?
Yeah, he's from Louisville.
He's a jackass.
Oddly enough,
with you?
Well, you know what? He really, we got along very, very nicely. I have a great deal of respect for him. Now I tell you, the guys, Taylor Casey, Travis Cox, Fussy Elmore, all those guys were in high school with Taylor, and they all have got a great amount of love for him. Now, he's had some difficulties just figuring out what's expected of him on the field as an NFL receiver. And the learning curve, this is a camp that he's got to show that he can handle it in the meeting room as well as he can on the field. And new coaching situation. Hopefully, he'll be able to get into a position where he can understand the plays and understand what's expected of him. But frequently he's running the wrong routes. Frequently he's lining up on the wrong side of the ball. He's doing a lot of things that has adversely affected his play time. But Balky's right. If he's on, he's going to be a dynamic player in the NFL.
This next email it's a little long, so I'm going to paraphrase it. It's from Luke in Denver, and he writes, "Hi, Eric and Dave. First, I listen to all your podcasts. You guys are top notch. I am drafting this Saturday for the first time in the FBG high stakes tourney. I will be out of the 8th spot and working through my draft strategy." And then he goes on. He writes this, Dave. "Having not done football guys in the past, I'm struggling around how much I should value my guys in order to give myself the best chance at getting them." Yes. Did
you write this?
No. This is Luke from Denver, who, by the way, wants to let us know that he's a Chiefs fan for whatever reason. Chiefs fan in Denver.
This is getting fishy here, by the way.
No. This is totally legit. So he basically wants to know what he should do in the 2nd round. He says he should have the option of A.J. Green, Michael Thomas, Devontae Adams, T.Y. Hilton for receiver, Joe Mixon, Devontae Freeman, Jerick McKinnon, maybe Christian McCaffrey. Of those guys right there, you don't think McCaffrey will be available to him?
Not if it's 70-yard touchdown runs tonight, he will not.
Be it at the 205 though? 205, I think he'd still be there.
Hell no.
Okay.
Hell no.
Okay, given that he's gone, then what are you looking at there for the 2nd round? What's the way that you would go out of those guys? Do you want me to repeat them again?
Yeah, you kind of wrap them up fast. But I kind of know the players that are generally there.
Well, these are the guys that he's sort of targeting. Receivers, A.J. Green, Michael Thomas, Devontae Adams, T.Y. Hilton. Running backs, Joe Mixon, Devontae Freeman, Jerick McKinnon.
Michael Thomas, I would say.
Michael Thomas is who we'd be looking at there. Okay.
Yeah, those running back. I mean, it seems early for those running backs. McKinnon, I'm not a fan of McKinnon now that he's out until week 1. Never proven as a bell cow. Mixon, 3.8 yards per carry. I don't mind Mixon, but again, the 2-5 seems early. Michael Thomas is the definite number 1 target for Drew Brees, and he's as a young player, he's had so many receptions and so much production. He's just a really safe player to have. Doesn't have an injury history. Why not?
He also wants to know, are we on board?
Farrell might want to pipe in.
I got one for Farrell in a second here. He also wants to know if we're on board with guys like Marshawn Lynch in the 7th. Yes. Latavius Murray in the 13th. Yes. LeGarrette Blount in the 17th. I mean, whatever. If you like him, take him there. I'm not super keen on him. Farrell, he also wants to know if Mark Ingram in a Football Guys draft at 405, is that a reach?
Oh, no, that's not a reach. But, you say this guy is from Denver?
He is from Denver, yes.
Well, he needs to get on Frontier Airlines next weekend and fly to Louisville and draft in the KFFSC, and he can answer some of these questions while he's here. And, being that it's Frontier, if he flies on Friday, he'll at least get here by Sunday, and we can get him in a league. Because it sounds like he's got a lot of questions that need answering. But, yeah, Ingram – we're going to miss Ingram for a few games, but man, if he comes back fresh into that part of the schedule, that soft part of the schedule for the Saints, Ingram would be productive in the 4th round. Lay a base of your better players in your first 3 rounds, and if you feel you got 3 really good players, Ingram is definitely not a reach.
Farrell, our next question, this is from Paul in Duluth, Georgia. Dear Jimmy and Keenan, are you buying into the DJ Chark hype for redraft leagues this season? It seems, and I'll say this about Chark.
What is that? Let's hear it.
I'll say this about Chark. It seems like we've heard over the course of the last month and a half, 2 months. First, we heard Marquise Lee is standing out in training camp. He's the best Jags receiver. Then we heard, oh no, Keelan Cole, he's been making all the plays. He's clearly been the best receiver in Jags camp. And then I heard Dede Westbrook making plays all over the field. Nobody has topped him at receiver. And now it's switched to Chark. We're hearing beat reporters saying that he's been the best. I don't know what to believe in Jacksonville. I don't know what to believe about Chark. Farrell, none of these guys.
Or Dante Moncrief.
Or Moncrief.
Now
that's interesting. I haven't heard anybody saying like Moncrief looking like the best player in the Jacksonville receiving corps. Farrell, you're not paying a premium to get any of these guys right now. If you were putting a chip on one of them, who would it be? I mean, do you like Chark, or is there somebody else you'd be targeting?
I'm going to stick with Keelan Cole, guys, because I just like his physicality, and I love the fact that this was a player out of Kentucky Wesleyan. Now, the Kentucky Wesleyan football program a few years ago was almost non-existent. And there was a competing agent friend of mine that the coach called begging him to represent the player. And the agent said, no, I just don't think I can do anything for him. And, he cringes with every time this kid catches a ball. So, I'm wanting my friend to still enjoy that discomfort. So I'm thinking Cole would be the guy to go with here because he's proven it. And in a rookie year where nobody expected anything, I don't know where this guy's ceiling stops. I don't think he's hit it yet, and so that's where I would want to. That's where I would want to bet. That's where I would want to pick a Jacksonville Jags wide receiver.
Yeah, Keelan Cole right now. If you are drafting any FFPC best ball leagues this weekend, he's ADP of 1902, and the highest he's gone in the last 3 days has been the 1501. So you're basically paying nothing to get a talented guy like him on your squad. You heard it from the commish. Keelan Cole, look out for him this year. Final email, Dave, I'll pitch this to you. Can I officially write off Devontae Booker now, or is he still a good handcuff to grab after taking Royce Freeman? Thanks, gentlemen. That's Jim in New York City. Right now, Royce Freeman has ascended to the 410 in FFPC best ball draft. Devontae Booker wallowing very late. I believe he is 13th round. Did I see that right? Devontae Booker is going at the 1301. To me, I mean, if they can Royce Freeman in the 4th, totally. 11th, 12th round, get Devontae Booker on that team as well. You're not paying much for him. You get that Denver Broncos rushing game locked up. I know you've sort of warmed up to Royce Freeman over the last few days.
Yeah, I like Freeman. I think he's a guy who shot me the ascendant. But yeah, I'm not a big handcuffer, but in the 13th round, it's so inexpensive. I mean, if it's really that late, absolutely.
Yeah.
Technically, he's still Booker is still listed as a starter, and he didn't play much in week 1, which isn't a bad sign necessarily. It's actually a good sign.
Right.
I think Booker's actually probably fallen more. I think the hype's there for Freeman. I like him, but I mean it's really gotten a little crazy.
He's gone as late as the 15-10 in FFPC best balls this week. So it remains to be seen what happens there. But I certainly think locking those two up is you could do a lot worse.
I don't even like Booker, but I'm just saying at that price it's so reasonable.
You should catch passes, I would imagine. Farrell, listen, it's been a pleasure having you on. Now, we can follow you, and we should follow you on Twitter at KFFSC. You can check out all the updates at KFFSC.com for openings. But the honest to God, the best way to get a hold of you, if you want to draft live in Louisville, if you want to jump in on any of the online drafts that are going on right now, the best way to get a hold of you, 502-523-5057. And I believe there's no restrictions on lateness or earliness of reaching you. Is that correct?
Don't call too late.
No, but there's no such thing as a call too late. And if you call too early in the morning, we'll just assume that it's late where you are, and we really won't hold it against you. So actually just, call anytime. We'll get back to you and talk a little football and get you involved in the contest. Some of the guys that come in late, they end up having the best time, I hate telling no to anyone, but we're getting close to that. So, yeah, please give me a call and please decide to come. We've got a lot of easy ways to get to Louisville. We've got the talented Greg Sidoris working with us to help secure hotel rooms, just very similar to what he does for the FFPC, and I think a lot of people know him. So, we've got some things to make your weekend to be pretty stress-free. Just get here and play some fantasy football.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a blast every year. I say this on the show every year. I tend to get a little bit. I hit it. I've been commissioning drafts for going on 10 years now, and I seem to hit the rookie wall at some point in August every single year. And it always happens to be like right around the time I'm going to Kentucky and having that weekend and hanging out with so many great people that I only see once a year in Louisville. And we do the show there live. We get to see you, hang out with you, and draft a bunch of teams. It's really like my weekend of drafting. Outside of that, I really don't get a chance to. So it is such a good time. I encourage anybody who has the means. I recommend it. Go check it out. KFFSC.com. Of course, give Farrell a call. 502-523-5057. He'll get you set up with the league. Farrell, man, it's been real. Enjoy Cincinnati on Sunday. In less than a week, I'll be shaking your hand, and we'll be hanging out again and catching up. I can't wait.
See you soon, fellas. Get on down here.
Farrell Elliott, ladies and gentlemen. Follow him at KFFSC on Twitter, and give him a buzz if you want to get involved in any of the Kentucky leagues this year. Online league, I believe, Sunday night. There's still some openings in that. So draft the Football Guys League that night, and then the Kentucky one. That should be the priority. I should make that over here. All right, just in case Alex is listening. That's going to do it for our show, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank 2017 KFFSC main event champ Kurt Off for coming on. Of course, Commissioner Farrell Elliott, Dave Gerzak, the FFPC, Rob Bryce, and of course all of you. As I alluded to earlier, next week, it is our mid-season finale live at the Horseshoe Casino. We will be broadcasting from the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship. Dave and myself, maybe a collection of surprise guests. People have surprised that, come on the show in the past. Impromptu, Kimra Schlischer has come on. Wayne Ellis, Ron Meyer, Ray Chung. You never know who's going to pop by when we're doing the show live next Friday. So we'll look forward to that. And that is going to be on at a special 7/6 Central time. So 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central. We will be on early that night because we have the auction at 8:30 Eastern time. So right when we get done with that, pack up all the equipment, and then we will be drafting teams. That is next week in Louisville. So we're looking forward to that. Before then, register for the Football Guys Players Championship. Register for the main event in the FFPC. Best ball and dynasty leagues now at myffpc.com. Last weekend for slow drafts. Get in on that. Football Guys draft going on tonight. show's over. There's nothing left to do tonight but draft football guys team. So definitely do that at myffpc.com. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you live from Louisville next week. Myself, Dave Gerzak, a host of others. Your weekend officially starts
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com that was broadcast live and heard around the world. Eric and Dave will be back next week with more analysis, interviews, and advice from a guest much smarter than they are. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk with you again next week.
About to call your ass a Uber, I got somewhere to be. I hear fairy tales about how they gon' run up on me. Well, run up when you see me, then we gon' see. I got enemies, got a lot of enemies, got a lot of people trying to drain me of this energy, trying to take the wave.
Dave, can I get an update on that? Any drafts are still trying to fill? How many spots are left? I'm just curious.
9 left in the, we just made it to 12:30 a.m. draft.
We added 12:30?
We got rid of the 1 p.m. or 1 a.m. and just made it down 11:55 at 12:30. 9 left.
Is the one at 11:55 full?
There is one at 11:55 at your commission that's full, and now there's a 12:30 at scheduled.
Oh my gosh! All right, I didn't realize it was full. I gotta get my ass home.
Yes, you do.
All right, thanks for listening. Talk to you in Kentucky next week.
Service and savings. It's Woodman's.
Hi, we're the Woodmans. I'm Clint.
I'm Phil, saving you big time money on your health.
Manitoba apple cider vinegar with mother, $2.99. And Indian summer cherry juice, just $2.99.
Ay caramba, your health is important.
46 ounces of cherry juice or 33 ounces of apple cider vinegar, both $2.99.
Hot prices for your health.
Service and savings. It's Woodman's. Service and savings. It's Woodman's.
Hi, we're the Woodmans. I'm Clint.
I'm Phil, saving you big time money on your health.
Manitoba apple cider vinegar with mother, $2.99. And Indian summer cherry juice, just $2.99.
Ay caramba, your health is important.
46 ounces of cherry juice or 33 ounces of apple cider vinegar, both $2.99.
Hot prices for your health.
Service and savings.